of Byproduct of FMB. He's a gynecologist and obstetrician and the founder of adolescent-friendly research initiative CARE. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
To join the conversation, you can call the number 07000 917 917 07000 917 917. You can also send a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. Now, the subject of female genital mutilation is internationally considered to be a harmful practice. This is seemingly popular knowledge, one would think, but there are suggestions that it can be medicalized to allegedly reduce its negative health effects, even though many of these effects are beyond health. So, today, basically, we're talking about the medicalization of female genital mutilation, and I'm speaking to Dr. Babatunde Olofimbi. All right, so Doctor, talk to us today about what the medicalization of female genital mutilation is for the benefit of those who don't know.
Thank you very much, my sister. I will start by giving a brief introduction for us to appreciate the beauty of medicalization of female genital mutilation. Generally, female genital mutilation is a common variant of gender-based violence, highly dehumanizing and invading fundamental human rights. It cuts across all nations and communities, no race. I repeat, to us in the medical circle, it's a scourge, it's a monster. And what does it mean? Because there's no way you can appreciate medicalization without you appreciating the summary of what it means.
Okay.
Female genital mutilation refers to partial or total removal of female external genitalia or injury to female genital organs for non-medical reasons. For non-medical reasons. And what the nature and the severity of mutilation vary. And the severity is a subject of is subject to luck and chance. Female genital mutilation, otherwise known as female genital cutting, is a harmful practice whose origin and significance is enshrouded in secrecy, uncertainty, and confusion. So, how do you mutilate? How do you go about the mutilation? What are the various forms? Right? It ranges from giving scarification on the clitoris, stripping the membrane covering the clitoris, scraping labia minora or majora, or scraping the whole vulva. So, and at times it can even be in form of using long fingernails to hook up the clitoris of a newly born child, or using broken bottles to remove the clitoris of a newly born female child, or using sharp materials to sharp objects to remove. So it can even graduate to progress to the most severe form. Am I communicating? The most severe form, in which after scraping the whole vulva, they will now go ahead to fasten the cut edges together with threads, with materials, in which before the fasting, a small stick is introduced into the vagina, and the fasting is done around the stick introduced. So in some cultures, they will even pour some adhesive materials on the vulva. Adhesive materials like egg yolk, like flour, so that it can give a very good concrete, like cement. So, following which the stick will now be removed, leaving a small hole for menstruation and urination. So, how does medicalization now come in?
Mm-hmm.
Female genital mutilation or cutting can be done via two forms: the traditional and the medicalized. Traditional as the traditional is the aim thing. So what are the categories of people that do the traditional? The religious and traditional leaders, ritualists. So these are the people. The traditional form is being done, is uncontrolled, is done in a very dirty environment, using contaminated materials, broken bottles, even contaminated blades, knives, all sorts of things, to even mere long fingers. So it is uncontrolled. So now the complications from the traditional variant, traditional means of mutilating the vulva, the genital, the complications are so overwhelming, ranging from bleeding, infection, pains, urinary retention, depending on the age and the extent of the injury, and sexual dysfunction, stones, even at times death. So that is what you have. Those are the physical issues, physical complications you have when female genital mutilation is carried out traditionally. However, people now came out. It is protected that female genital mutilation is increasingly being practiced worldwide. Allegedly, when you talk about medicalization, what brings about medicalization? People now came around. Well, these complications are overwhelming. How do we reduce the negative health effects of this? Now, they have to bring in health professionals that have appreciable level of proficiency to handle this. And it is suggested that medicalization is as a restore is like a what's it called? It's like a harm reduction strategy. Harm reduction strategy. That is to reduce
on the child or the woman involved.
Yeah, the woman, because the people have appreciable level of proficiency compared to the untrained traditional handlers. So that was what brought about the concept of medicalization, and it increases every day. It cuts across all nations. There are basically 5 countries that have highest medicalization rates. You want to know them?
Yes, please.
Sudan. We have about 67% of genital mutilation being carried out by healthcare professionals. Sudan. Then Egypt, about 35% of FGM being carried out by health professionals. Guinea, about Egypt, about 38%. Guinea, about 15%. Even Kenya, about 15%. Have an issue with the be underreported. Why? You want to know why? Why? A recently conducted survey in southwestern Nigeria by Ajite et al. Gave medicalization rates of about 62.5%, much higher than what is being quoted.
That is true.
So it is underreported in Nigeria, and from the same study, people, when you see people, they keep shouting that the perpetrators are the ritualists, religious leaders, and the likes. from the study, it's astonishing that healthcare workers accounted for about 62%, contrary to what people shout. So we have a lot to do in this area. So why there are a lot of issues surrounding medicalization, as I told you earlier. So to actually look at why are they bringing in healthcare professionals? Well, to reduce complications. That's this number one, to reduce complications. But generally, it has been shown that whatever you are doing, whether whether you are reducing complication or you are not reducing complication, female genital mutilation is mutilation. Whether it is being carried out traditionally, whether it is something that has been frowned at internationally. There are a lot of policies that are being wanted now that are against this, because it's not a factor of reducing complications alone. Here you are invading. It's like an invasion of women's and girls' reproductive health rights. You are invading their reproductive fundamental human rights. So aside that, the complication is just secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So you are invading fundamental human rights, and that is what these healthcare professionals should be made to appreciate, that it goes beyond complications. And in the medical cycle, there's something we call Hippocratic oath that says, do no harm. Not that it doesn't say do little harm. So the idea behind it is, okay, well, we won't do the whole, we won't go the whole 9 years. Yeah, we'll just do little to please people requesting for the procedure on social and cultural grounds.
Absolutely.
On social and cultural grounds. So those are the issues.
I do have to say that some of these things that you've mentioned are things that people know, but don't know enough of.
Yeah.
The things that people know, but they don't know enough of it. And this is kind of conversation I'm hoping that more people will hear about, because we need to keep talking about this. There's something people petition. The more you hear it, the more it sticks to your brain, so that you can actually remember it and engage other people about it. So this is 18 minutes past 2 on your Women Radio WFM 91.7, and you're tuned into Let's Talk FGM. My name is Somto Titilayo Ajama, and I'm here with Dr. Babatunde Olofimbiyi, gynecologist and obstetrician, of Adolescent-Friendly Research Initiative CARE. Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of Hacey Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. If you're just joining us, welcome. And today we're basically talking about the medicalization of FGM. We're talking about the medicalization of FGM. If you're new to this, again, you're welcome. So, talking about the medicalization of FGM, if you want to contribute, you can send a text or a WhatsApp message, and you can also call. The number to call is 07000 917 917, 07000 917 917. Or you can send your text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537, 0703 175 6537. Now, Dr. Babatunde, this point about, you said something earlier that people practice female genital mutilation for non-medical reasons.
Yeah.
So I want to link that to this question I'm about to ask you. Can the medicalization of FGM prevent any health hazards that one can get as a byproduct of FGM? Before you answer that, I'll repeat the question again. Good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Talk FGM. What's your name, please?
My name is Akintunde.
Hello, Akintunde. Thank you for calling. Where are you calling from?
From Lagos.
All right. Please go on. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I'll answer this question.
Hello, are you there? Okay. Well, if you can, please go ahead and call back. If you can, just call back and we'll take your question. All right, back to you, Dr. Babatunde. So I was asking if the medicalization of FGM can prevent any health hazards one can get as a byproduct of being mutilated, of FGM generally. Does that help in any way?
Yeah, generally it has not been shown to be of any appreciable benefit. It has not been shown.
Because it's still cutting at the end of the day.
It is still cutting, and it is still a form of invasion of fundamental human rights. However, that way your question is either is yes or no. Now, people that have appreciable level of proficiency are being brought to the picture.
Okay.
Compared to
the traditional handlers
that have not been trained. Now, there were in Anham and in some studies, it has been shown, there is evidence that the level of complications encountered, the level of complications are seen when healthcare professionals handle FGM is much less compared to when traditional handlers do the same. However, same studies have also shown that severe forms of female genital mutilation are being carried out by the same segment of healthcare professionals, in which you even have more overwhelming complications than when more than you can even have when the traditional people handle it. So there is evidence.
Definitely.
Yeah, there is a lot of evidence supporting that. Whether you are reducing complications or you are not reducing complications, it has been shown the general position is it does not confer any advantage. This is what some people will say. Well, even some people will say instead of cutting it much, why don't you, the health professional will rather give something like a nick on the clitoris. Where you can give a nick, blood will still let some blood out, but you are still infringing on the human right of the innocent girl child. So why is not supposed to be cut? Even description do not recommend cutting female external genitalia. The scriptures,
all right,
Quran or the Bible, neither. So the Bible only recommends circumcision on the male child as a means of, as a seal, as a spiritual seal or hold. But you can see that I said the origin and the significance is what is ensured with confusion, uncertainty, and some other things.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. We have another call coming in. Let's take that one. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much, Grandpa.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I joined the program late, but I want to know what is the realization of FGM, and then I thought they want to eradicate it, they want to stop it. Why medicalization?
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes,
I'll just give you the meaning. Medicalization means situations in which female genital mutilation or cutting is being practiced by healthcare. Is being practiced by any cadre or category of healthcare professionals, either in a private setting or in a public setting, either at home, elsewhere, at every point in the life of the innocent girl child. That is it, ma'am.
All right. I hope that answered the question, Grandma Olenka. You also asked that she's saying, oh, I thought it was going to be eradicated. Why medicalization then? Now, at the moment, there is no clear-cut law that says don't mutilate females. So this is why people are still doing this regardless. Say that it's another thing to say, even if there was a law, because people have on some level understood it to be what was supposed to do. Do you think even if there's a law, do you think this is something that can truly be eradicated?
It can. So don't say there are no laws. There are laws. There have been a lot of policies on female genital mutilation globally. I will take you through. Thank you for that observation. Virtually every country has its gender-based violence prohibition act with its laws. The United Nations, for the first time in 2012, they made a pronouncement that made a pronouncement that prohibited female genital mutilation. United Nations General Assembly. That was for the first time. There was a provision that found that female genital mutilation that criminalized it, that declared it as being what? Abnormal and illegal.
Punishable by law?
Punishable by law.
So now, does this apply to Nigeria now?
By and large, a global, a wider global agency under sustainable development growth. Now, Section 5 has a provision that prohibits female genital mutilation. And even the overall goal, the vision under that sustainable development goal is to end female genital mutilation by year 2030. And there have been, and different countries and nations have been coming up with their policies. So, and Nigeria inclusive. So, in Nigeria, there is this concept of gender-based violence prohibition law that different states are now keen into. And they are getting progress. Because they are getting progress. However, the progress they are getting is not still what is not appreciable, because though there is there are jingles here and there, advocacy here and there that female genital mutilation has been criminalized. It shouldn't be done. People still do it clandestinely. There are factors to that. So, but generally, there have been some countries, they will promulgate law. At the end of the day, they will withdraw the law because of socio-cultural, from religious and social leaders. At the end of the day, they will withdraw the law and they will promulgate the law. So there is this vicious cycle of confusion, even among nations, because of socio-cultural pressure. Because people still believe in that female genital mutilation. That is why it's going to be a very hard nut to crack.
Absolutely.
But in some countries in Africa, 80% of female genital mutilation body is in Africa, and we have a prevalence as high as 98%. In Somalia, Guinea. Although there are other African countries that are very low prevalence, like Cameroon. So it now depends on how each country handles and follows those measures put in place to actualize ending the
female genital mutilation.
The monster. It's a monster.
It is. You said that. You said that, and to a large extent, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because it's eating deeper and deeper into our society. And without talks like this, it's like nobody's talking about it. It reminds me of a situation where everybody knows about something, but it kind of feels like nobody knows about it. So it's like everybody knows, oh, this is wrong. But it's like nobody knows because nobody is paying attention to the fact that it's wrong and they should stop doing it. We have another call. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling. What's your name, please?
My name is Valentine.
Hello, Valentine. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ikorodu.
Ikorodu. Please go ahead, Valentine.
Yeah. The question about this female genital mutilation.
Yes, please.
Can it be cannot also be called female sterilization?
Yes, of course. But I'll let the doctor answer that.
Yeah,
it's not the abuse of the right of the female child.
That's what I saying.
It is. But let him speak so that you can.
The consent is not spoken before the temptation.
Absolutely, that's 100% correct.
Well, thank you very much, sir. That's a very beautiful question and observation. They have called female genital mutilation different names
Over the years.
Yes, to be able to make it look less harmful, to look harmless. So some people have called it cutting, female genital cutting. You have called it circumcision. You are right. However, there are things I want our people to know. It has different names depending on the nature of the injury. Now, a form of female genital mutilation can be called scarification, sir. Am I communicating? Scarification. Scarification. When you make scarification marks on the clitoris. That is a variant. Another variant can be called nipping. 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 Nipping, in which the very poor traditional doctor uses his long nails to hook off the whole of the clitoris.
Okay.
Then we can call it suna. Suna, that is the female, that is the male counterpart of FGM on our female. So like they are just stripping, they are removing some skin covering the clitoris. We call that one suna. That was they refer to as female circumcision. They call it suna. Whereas in some there is a particular variant in which when you scrap the whole labia on either side, the whole labia are scrapped off.
Okay.
And nothing is left at the private part. It's left relatively open. We call that one excision or vulvectomy. Don't be carried away. They are just simple terms. Now, and there's another very severe form that is very, very deadly. Very deadly, very, very callous, dehumanizing. We call that one infibulation. That infibulation, the labia will first be scraped, and it won't stop there. They will put a stick inside the vagina, and they will now fasten the two labia together with strings. And some people even pouring oil or flour or egg yolk to make it look like a cement. Following which they will now remove the innocent girl can menstruate through a tiny hole. So when the time now comes for the girl to serve after sexual intercourse or during marriage, they will now go back there to do what? To split the place open so that the husband can have access. That is what they call what? Defibrillation. So these are the things we don't know. So if you don't know the name that this one is called, how will you cancel? If you don't know the level of injury, how will you cancel?
I have a second question.
Please go ahead.
My second question: what is their motive? What is the reason for this kind of practice?
That is why I said that the practice, the significance is enshrouded in confusion and secrecy. Usually, it is linked with minds, some social cultural norms. Like even when people cannot even explain, it's cultural. Why some people, it depends on the community. Some community will think, okay, if you don't do that, the girl might go promiscuous. Okay, that's number one. So
I think that's actually the biggest one. That's the most popular one.
Yeah, in some countries like United States, some people, they don't enjoy sex. So in order to make them enjoy sex, they will go and strip off part of the skin covering the clitoris so that the woman can enjoy sex. And in some countries, they must remove the clitoris because they feel if the baby touch the clitoris, that the baby will die.
Yes.
Whereas in some countries, if they do, it's like a birthright. It's like it's a means of ushering the girl
like
into
a
womanhood.
rite of passage.
Yeah, it's like ritual. Like you are ushering her into being inducted into womanhood. Yes. So whereas and in some countries, in order to it's being done to mimic, to fake virginity. So when you do it, it tightens the place and it gives an impression that probably she's a virgin. No, she's not. So there are many things, and in some countries, if you don't do it, the girl cannot go into marriage, and if she goes, the dowry will not be as much as it is shown. So it is a lot of conflicting interests, conflicting bases, conflicting reasons. That's why I said it is a practice whose significance is enshrouded with
secrecy and confusion,
uncertainty and confusion. Whereas it has been proven that's evident that it doesn't confer any advantage, whether traditional or medicalized. So it is high time we rose up to eliminate the monster. It does not work than good, depending on the age of the baby. So the complications range from the childhood to adulthood, depending even their medical complications, surgical complications, reproductive health complications, and psychological complications. So
Valentine, okay, 22 minutes to 1.7, and this is Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. You're listening to Let's Talk FGM, and Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of Hacey Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 1.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to end violence against women. Today we're talking about the medicalization of female genital mutilation, a JAMA, and I have with me Dr. Babatunde Olofindi, a gynecologist and obstetrician and the founder of Adolescent Friendly Research Initiative CARE. All right. If you want to call, just like Valentine just did, you can call the number 07000-917-917. If you have any questions for our guest, or you have any observation or anything you want clarified, please put a call through to 07000-917-917. Or you can send a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703-175-6537. I'll take that again, 0703-175-6537. Over to you, Dr. Babatunde. You talked about reproductive health consequences of female genital mutilation. Please take us through what some of those are. We had a guest previously that touched a little bit on some of those, but just shed more light on it, because just in line with Valentine's question, this is something that a lot more people need to be aware of.
Thank you very much. Just jump to reproductive health related consequences of female genital mutilation without scratch. I will quickly give this summary.
Okay.
Now, a freshly mutilated baby, the genitalia is just cut without any reason. So what happens? So the complications could be immediate or late, and these complications could be surgical, medical, reproductive health related, and psychological. Psychological is overwhelming. Now, what happens to the baby, to the innocent baby? The baby can start what? Bleeding, and result in death. Healing process. Even in the course of being mutilated, there are other structures that can be damaged. Urinary tract is very close to the area where feces passes, is very close to the area. So those structures can be damaged. So the baby starts having pain, the baby cannot urinate. If the baby is lucky and if she doesn't die, So, and as she grows up, what happens? So the healing brings about what? Brings about narrowing consent passage in such a way that when what happens to the vaginal passage, because it is narrowed, by the time the baby enters puberty and she starts to menstruate, what can happen? There is problem with menstruation. The menstruum cannot come out. She's in pain, and that continues to repeat itself every month cyclically. So painful menstruation. Now she has not started having sex, so she's still a virgin. So what are the things you can have? Problem with menstrual problems. Now, menstrual problems. You can have menstrual problems. Then I told you the urinary passage is contiguous to that place.
Yes.
Very, very close. So the place is narrowed too. So urine cannot come out. There is stasis. Bacteria continue to flourish. Then you have infections, urinary tract infections. So stasis brings about infections, even urinary stones. So pain comes today, pain comes tomorrow, even because of the narrowing and some tissue reactions. You can have some undue growths, like something like tumor-like, retention cysts, tumor-like. That you think, what is this swelling? Why is this swelling? Even some people can have a problem with defecation. The physical come out because the area where tumors are narrowed. So now, when she now grows up and she wants to start enjoying sexual intercourse into marriage. Now, what can happen? Now, there will be problem with sex that we refer to as sexual dysfunction. So the girl cannot enjoy sex again. Even most times, pedis will not even enter. So sexual dysfunction, the girl will have issues with desire to have sex, with arousal, with problems catching orgasm, even penetration problem, because the penis can't enter anything, but the penis is already narrowed. So now, if she's lucky to have concealed something from the husband and they don't have sex before marriage, so during the nuptial and the other start saying, what is this? Then because there is sexual dysfunction issue. So the woman cannot get pregnant. There is subfertility or infertility problem. So which can go a long way to do to scatter the marriage. Even before you enter, we have entered the reproductive issue.
Yes.
So even before the issue of pregnancy comes in, the husband must be put off because sex becomes painful,
very painful,
very, very emotionally and physically painful, that we call dyspareunia. So the man with time, 9 out of 10 men can't cope. Before you know it, there is infidelity and the marriage gets scattered. For those that are lucky to get pregnant, then they are starting another horrible journey during pregnancy. Why? During pregnancy, they may be having pains. Although the pregnancy is already there, they are lucky. Pains, the infection will still be there. So when they are in labor and the place is relatively narrowed, so how do you monitor the birth process? It's very, very difficult. Even because the place will not even allow fingers to enter. Because examination with fingers during pregnancy is usually painful. Now that there is a residual insult, you still want to enter with your hand, so you can't monitor labor. Some of them they end up with cesarean section. For those that want to deliver by force, they come down with with arrest of we call it birth arrest. The baby will come. We call it obstructed labor. Even with those that they still want to abide by themselves, if the baby comes out by force, they come down with terrible tears, with bleeding that can cost them their lives. So now those are the reproductive health related issues, and for those that end up with cesarean section and they are very, very poor, So it affects not only the economy of the couple, it affects the psyche of the girl, and the last is if she gets pregnant. But most of them, especially if they can't get help on time, they lose the marriage, and psychological issues come in. What are psychological issues? That psychological issue in FGM is even a very big, occupies a big armamentarium in the complication. Anxiety is there, depression is there, post is there, even suicidal tendency and suicide. So those are the we can be complication of FGM is a textbook on its own. So I can start
mentioning
now,
but you won't it
to tomorrow. But we don't have much time in our pocket.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Dr. Babatunde. We have another call. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
My program you are doing is very good.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Since the doctor is so strong in his views about this female genital mutilation, as a lay person, I would request that it is criminalized in the country. And I think it's not just creating awareness in the society. It could be a multiple disciplinary action. So somebody can go and find out where there is a cultural trend or tendency on this female genital mutilation. And then a strong advocacy, and then a government policy. People do things out of ignorance. I'm sure it's a serious problem in the North. It's not just talking about it. It's about conscience. But demand that it is criminalized. And when people are told they will stop. Something that is not beneficial is harmful. I think it should be criminalized. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Thank you for calling. Your location. All right, I have to say this. Please, if you send text or WhatsApp message, please make sure to include your name and location so that we can know how far we're reaching you. Your name and location via text or WhatsApp messages. So this person is saying all these things are dangerous and they should be arrested. This message came in a while ago. So our last caller now, Kingsley, is concurring with this person who says it should be criminalized, and people who still perpetrate this particular criminal act when it's criminalized should be arrested. We'll leave that for the latter part of conversation so that we can touch on a few more things about the medicalization of female genital mutilation. So there's so much that you talked about as regards surgical consequences, medical consequences, and reproductive health consequences. You also said psychological consequences, but we haven't touched on that yet. So just give us a body of what these psychological consequences, yes, that's the word, are for people who have been through this.
Thank you very much. I said it, but I will repeat it again.
Yes, we actually had a caller last week that talked about the fact that, yes, you did touch on it. She talked about the fact that she's having issues with her husband because she's just not, she doesn't have an urge for any sexual activity, no such thing. And if you ask me, that is not healthy for any woman at all. So I can imagine what that's doing to her as a person, let alone how she would relate with her husband and the health of their marriage.
Thank you very much. It's one of the psychosocial or psychological complications or consequences form is one of the greatest burdens of female genital mutilation. One of the greatest problems, because you can see all these physical problems, you can see medical problems, you can appreciate, but you cannot most times you can't see psychological manifestations. Yes. And the girl keeps suffering in silence. And psychological consequences depend on the age, especially when the FGM is carried out. FGM is carried out, the age varies from
Community to community.
Most people, they will do it in infancy. Some around the age of 9, some around 15, in adolescent. So now, like Ghana, most time in Ghana they do it around 9. In Nigeria, around in infancy, the first 8 days of life. Now, what now? The psychological manifestation will now depend on when the age, whether the girl can still recall what actually happened to her or not. That's number one. Number two, the severity of the complications. Whether it is moderate, it is what is severe. If it is severe, even if she can't recall, she grows up with it to appreciate how her private part is like. So by the time she starts cutting, she's going into sexual into marriage, she start having sexual intercourse, she start having, and she can see appreciable distinction between what she is carrying and what her peers are carrying. Now psychological problems are setting, and it ranges from, depending on the age. When you see yourself, my bum is not like, it's very, very hot. She starts meeting anxiety, depression. Why is my bum like this, mommy? Depression. So when this appears, she hides herself. She hides that place. She doesn't want them to. So the psychological body is building up small. So with time, the anxiety comes in. When she grows up and she starts hearing something, well, by the time I start, I go into court. I want to go into marriage. Hey, how will it be? Anxiety. That is a form of psychology.
That is true.
So anxiety. So with time, she's into marriage, and the husband cannot have her with satisfaction. The sex is no more satisfying. So the problem is now multiple fold. The depression deepens. So depression deepens, anxiety deepens. It even, by the time the husband leaves her, the marriage gets scattered. Suicidal tendency from some people. Even before suicidal tendency, there's something called post-traumatic stress
disorder. Yes.
So she won't be able to sleep, insomnia. She won't be able to eat. She'll be losing weight. So these are all the cascades of psychological body under FGM. So at a particular point in time, depending on whether she's married or not, when she's married and the marriage is no more working because of female genital mutilation, what happens? They commit suicide.
Yes.
So those are the psychological issues, and it has been said that it is about the greatest body of female genital mutilation. That should be when you see a woman in whom there are traits of FGM, then we must do psychological examination and evaluation. Because most times that is what you will see. So the physical you can see when you examine, but psychological, there are most times the psychological issues may hide. They may decide not to. It is FGM. It may be telling you, okay, my depression is a result of something else. Except you now do holistic examination. When you now feel, why is this place like this? Okay, will it be the cost of your depression? You'll be surprised at what you'll be getting. Thank you.
Thank you. I really cannot say thank you enough for today's conversation, if we're being honest. And that is because we've received so much information that, to a large extent, most people did not know the details of. I still said this last week, and I'll say it again. Everybody knows about FGM, but they don't really know about today for joining us today. All right. Well, Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of Hacey Health Initiative with partnership with Women Radio 91.7, funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. I honestly want to believe that we've learned a vast number of things today as regards the medicalization of female genital mutilation and also health consequences across the board for people who have been or people who have gone through female genital mutilation and why it should stop. So please do not end the conversation here. Talk to more people about it. Refer them to this program. We're doing this again next week, same time, 2 p.m. Wednesdays. And please make sure that you're here, you tuned in to Women Radio 91.7 to learn more about female genital mutilation. Thank you again, Dr. Babatunde Olofumbi. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to my producer, Praise Olatunbosu, and studio assistants and engineers on duty. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama, and thank you again.
FGM is a harmful practice that affects women and girls. Let's talk FGM every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Together, we must fight against FGM.